For me, there's a narrow and broad definition of development effectiveness. In a narrow sense, it's about making sure that we achieve what we set out to achieve on development and being sure that we know that we've made a difference, that we've achieved results. But in a broad sense, development effectiveness to me is about justice. It's about making sure that we are, through the development process, achieving social justice. And that means reducing global inequality, reducing the things that are holding so many people back because of unfair trade regulations or the misbehavior of big business. So to me, development effectiveness seen in a broad context is about achieving social justice through the development process. I think the Global Partnership is an experiment at trying to create a new way of approaching the development question. And in a way, it's good that this is outside the UN system because it allows for a more creative set of institutions and partnerships that can achieve the aims that it achieves. But on the other hand, I do worry a little bit that this is outside the traditional systems of the UN, which at the end of the day is our truly global governance institution. So for me, the Global Partnership is an opportunity to create new relationships and engage new people and partners in the development process, and hopefully bring people in a race to the top in terms of the principles of doing development in a more responsible way. So one of the reasons we at Civicus are investing in the Global Partnership process is because if you look at the Busan Agreement, within it there is something very important for us in civil society. This commitment to the enabling environment for civil society and the acknowledgement of civil society as key actors in development, as equal actors in development, is, I think, a good starting point for how we should move forward. And so this, from a civil society point of view, is an opportunity to make sure that other development actors see us as equal and important part of the development process. My worry, of course, is that when you look around the world, in many of the countries that have signed the Busan Agreement, conditions for civil society are getting worse, not better. That in many cases, that civic space is under attack by governments that are clearly breaching the commitments that they made in Busan. So, despite coming to these meetings with the optimism that here is a document, here is a commitment to protecting the enabling environment for civil society, I'm deeply worried that this is just a pieces of paper, and what is happening on the ground in many countries is actually going against these commitments that governments made. So if we think about what's going to happen in development in the long term, we're going to see the end of aid as we know it, the growth of new forms of development finance, the rise of new actors in the development stage, not just countries like China or even Korea where we are, but also new actors, including the private sector, we hope, as development actors in their own right. And so I think that the challenge for us, especially in progressive civil society interested in justice and equality, is to navigate this new landscape, to make sure that those fundamental values are protected. And the optimistic part of me thinks, yes, there are new opportunities here, new institutions, new partnerships through which we can achieve the goals we want. But unfortunately, the other part of me is deeply worried that those institutions that we created, especially within the United Nations, to protect the human rights-based approach, an equal playing field for people and nations, are now being sidelined, and as in the growth of these new partnerships that aren't necessarily accountable in the same way. And so, we're at this very interesting, perhaps worrying time in the way that the development process is evolving. And I think all of us in civil society have to keep a very close eye on how these institutions perform and keep insisting on those fundamental values and principles that we have at heart.